are happy with it. We have had some of the talk of the officials talking about the system being tweaked. What that means, we will find out, I guess, at the rally, the first rally of next year. But yeah, all looking forward to Japan this weekend.
Well, very interesting that this is how it has worked. And, you know, it's also championship leader Thierry Neuville, you know, taking the first, let's just take a look at the first event. This is something we hadn't, you know, normally would think of, say, Calais is the one who had been pulling this off. Yeah. You know, or was Sebastian Ogier. Yeah. But he did the full sweep, won the Saturday's points, won the Sunday points, and also took the power stage points. Yeah.
Yeah. Incidentally, he's the only one who has made that clean sweep the whole championship. And looking at where the sort of positions are, you know, Odd Tanak, to have any possible chance of winning this championship, stealing this championship out from under Neuville, has to consider doing that clean sweep. A feat he hasn't done in any other event. He came close. He scored, I think, 26 points in Portugal. Yes. And he scored 25 in Italy. So, you know, 25 points doesn't win it for you. I don't think 26 points either wins it for you in this rally. So he needs to go for a clean sweep. But of course, Neuville needs to score less than 5, which the least points that Neuville has scored this year is 9 points. So, you know, even if Neuville does mirrors the worst performance he made this year, it's still going to be a very uphill task for Ott. But again, we were just saying the conditions in Japan are treacherous. They are, I guess, comparable with Monte Carlo. Wet tarmac, very small, thin roads, lots of opportunity to get your car off the road without it being able to be retrieved. So there's still a good few kilometers between the championship and, you know, everybody's nerves, I guess, especially for Neuville, who's been rallying since 2013. 2013, 5 runners-up trophies. He really needs this one. This one he needs.
Actually, it makes me think of somebody known as Marco Allen.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point he was the winningest driver.
Yeah, without the championship. But championship is a funny thing, you know. You can be good in all. You can tick all the right boxes. But the last box, you know, just eludes you. There's luck, a lot of luck in this.
Okay, we'll be coming down to that and looking at, you know, all the prospects, especially the manufacturers and some things that we are seeing and the conversations about next year, because there are going to be changes, and also talk about Ford, because they are telling their story differently. But right now, let's move over to Lamu, where Kasichana Masha is with the Safari Doctors Medical Outreach in Lamu. Kasichana Masha, over to you.
Okay. Right. Yes. Yes, a very good morning to you, Wahome. Thank you so much. My name is Kasichana Masha. I'm coming live to you from Kokoni. Kokoni is in Lamu East. This is Lamu County, where we are accompanying a team of health experts from a non-governmental organization known as Safari Doctors. We are accompanied by a section of health experts from the Ministry of Health, Lamu County, and also another organization known as Sigil Foundation, whereby they've been conducting several medical outreaches to residents of Lamu East or Lamu Island, whereby they've been conducting free medical services and advanced medical services to this area. But Wahome, you'll allow me to switch to Kiswahili because residents of this area are more conversed with Kiswahili. So I have one of the residents from this area who has received a section or a series of services from Safari Doctors. She'll introduce herself, tell us when did she get to know about Safari Doctors and how has the journey been since she interacted with Safari Doctors. Karibu sana.
Shukrani.
Alafu tuambie umekuwa na ukihudumiwa na Safari Doctors kwa muda gani?
Kwa jina naitwa Sada Mohamed. Nilikuja hapa Safari Doctor mwezi wa 6 kama sikosei. Nikapapana na Dr. Mea. Akanitibu vizuri, shukrani. Na akaniambia nende mbele Lamu. Nikifika Lamu pia nikatibiwa, nikaambiwa nende mbele. Nikaenda Mombasa, alhamdulillah, nashukuru. Nikafanya operation. Kamaliza, alhamdulillah, sasa niko sawa.
Ukafanya operation ya nini na ilikugharimu kiasi gani pengine?
Operation nilifanywa kizazi, katolewa kizazi ya kansa. Alafu kuna zichu zingine kama chezi kwenye sijui growth. Nikafanyiwa. Nikaenda hospitali, nikaenda kapimwa. alafu nikawekwa kwenye ile mashini ambayo inaitwa Rima. Ile nikatoa 30,000, nikaenda hospitali nikatoa deposit 10,000 ya kufanya operation. Wakati kaketi kama siku 6 nikatolewa, nikalipa kama 50 kwa mwana ile 10 kama 60 hivi na mbali ile 30. Alafu katukuliwa kile kinyama ile kizazi, nikapelekwa hospitali nyingine nikatoa 6,000. Nikimaliza hapo alhamdulillah nashukuru, nikatukuliwa tena katukua tena majibu yangu wale ya kupimwa ile kizazi, nikaambiwa uko sawa, mahali ni hapo hapo. Nashukuru na nashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu wangu.
Naona uko na ujumbe gani kwa Safari Doctors, tukikumbuka kwamba huu mwaka pia wanasherehekea miaka 10 tangu walipoanzisha ile zoezi zima la kutoa matibabu ya bure kwa wakazi wa Lamu.
Nawashukuru sana. Kwa hivyo naomba yani watu wawe wakisikia Safari Doctor waende wakatibu, waangalie ile mambo ilivyo ndani, kwa sababu magonjwa yako na dawa ziko.
Asante na kila laheri. Naam, asante. Naam, Wahome, pia niruhusu kwamba niweze kuzungumza na mmoja wa mhudumu wa afya ambaye amekuwa akizungumza ama akitembea ama akifanya mazoezi zima hili la kutoa huduma za afya akiandamana na wahudumu wa afya wa Safari Doctor. Tafadhali daktari, utaweza kujitambulisha jina lako, alafu tuambie mlianza zoezi hili kwa muda gani na sasa hivi pengine mmeweza kwa kipindi cha miaka 10 mmeweza kutibu wagonjwa wangapi ama mmeweza kuhudumia watu wangapi katika kisiwa cha Lamu?
Kwa majina naitwa Amina Alabshir, ama Youth Health Ambassador wa Safari Doctor. Nimejiunga na hili shirika since 2017 up to date. Kusema la kweli, hili shirika linasaidia mashinani hasa kwa upande wa matibabu ya wanadamu, pia matibabu ya wanyama. So far since 2017 mpaka sasa hii kuonyesha ni population kubwa sana yenye ambao wamebenefit na hii huduma ya afya kwa binadamu vile kwa wanyama.
Pengine ni changamoto gani ambayo ipo hapa kuhusiana na swala zima la huduma za afya eneo la Lamu?
Changamoto zipo kama sahihi, tukiangalia dispensary yetu ndio hiyo hapo. Kuna matibabu kadha wa kadha yenye ambao huwa hatuwezi pata, ama huduma hatuwezi pata, ama dawa pia hatuwezi pata kutoka kwa serikali kuu ama kwa county, pengine kwa delay kuchelewa kuletwa madawa, lakini Safari Doctor huwa wanatu visit every month. Tunapata hiyo clinic zao zenye ambao wanakuja hapa, tunapata hiyo tiba ama hao matibabu, tunapata dawa pia tunapata every month, tuko sure kwamba hili shirika linakuja na lina serve kwa community.
Na swala la elimu ya masuala ya afya bila shaka ni changamoto sana kwa wakazi wa eneo hili. Je, pengine mmeweza kukabiliana nalo vipi? Je, mnawafunza watu kuhusiana na masuala ya afya ama mnakabiliana vipi na changamoto hiyo ya uelewa wa masuala mazima ya afya?
Mimi ni Health Youth Ambassador, ambapo hili shirika huwa lanichukua kila baada ya mwezi naenda kwa training ya masomo kuhusu mambo na masuala ya afya. Yale mafunzo yenye ambao napata huko kwa training na kuja naelezea jamii. Changamoto ziko, kuna wale wenye ambao watakubali haya mafunzo yenye ambao nimepatiwa kule wakafata. Kuna na wale wenye ambao wana ignore, nasema some people pia hawako literate, hawako na elimu, yani they are illiterate. So ni ngumu sana kumwekeza mtu. Kuna wenye ambao wataelewa kweli, watafuata ile yenye ambao umemwambia, na kuna wenye ambao watatukua process mpaka kukubaliana na wale mafunzo yenye ambao nawapatia.
Pengine tukimalizia, wito wako kwa wakazi wa eneo hili na hata kwa serikali kuu na ya kaunti ni gani?
Wasema
wito wako kwa serikali kuu, kwa wakazi wa eneo hili na kwa serikali ya kaunti?
Wito wangu kwa serikali kuu na ya kaunti ni kwamba waendeleze kwenye huduma ya afya, kuboresha huduma ya afya. Vile kwa jamii, pindi Safari Doctor wanakuja hapa ama shirika lote linakuja kupeana huduma ya afya, tujitokeze. Kama venye mama amekuja hapa amesema hakujua ule ugonjwa kama ako nao, lakini laiti ingekuwa Safari Doctor kuja hapa akajigundua kwamba kuna ule ugonjwa na akakimbilia kupata tiba na sasa hivi amepona. Hivyo basi wamama, wanawake wenye ambao wako majumbani na wanasikizia kama hizo changamoto, ni vizuri, ni vyema kuja mapema kujua ugonjwa na kupata tiba yake.
Asante sana. Now that's all from me, Wahome. Thank you so much. Details will be coming to you from our subsequent bulletin, that is 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. My name is Christiana Marsha. We'll be bringing you more details on this because we are camped here today, tomorrow, and maybe the entire week of this entire program. Thank you so much, and back to you, Studio Wahome.
Very much, Marsha, who is in Lamu County, and she is at the Safari Doctors Medical Outreach in Lamu County. The stories will be coming to us. Well, we'll be getting on to another story later, and this is about the lecturers who striking university dons are holding processions in the Nairobi CBD, and they want the implementation of their CBA done. We'll be getting to that story. But let's get back to motorsport, and it's a conversation about the World Rally Championship. The 2024 season is coming to a close this weekend. WRC Forum 8 Rally of Japan. And it's 25 points between Thierry Neuville and Noitanak, and it is just 15 points between Hyundai and Toyota in the manufacturer standings. Let's just come down to this, and with Karedi, who's a rally navigator, he knows all of he knows what it is like to sit on that seat driving high speed, and and how they work. Looking at how it's all gone down. First for Hyundai, it started brilliantly for them with a win in Monaco. Then they got to win in Sweden, and before before Toyota came and took the Safari.
Well, Hyundai find themselves on top of the table, so whatever they've done this season, it seems to have worked for them. Of course, it's not in the bag yet. We still have Japan to go. And I wanted to sort of narrate an old story about, I don't know if you remember, championship, I think the first or the second that Tommi Mäkinen won. And this rally was decided again at the last event of the calendar of that year, which was the Network Q rally in England. And Mäkinen retired within the rally. So he was on his way out of England. He was at the airport, actually, I think Heathrow. And Sainz was on the super special. He was literally 1.5 kilometers to the World Championship. His car expired. Car stopped in the stage. In fact, there's a famous video of Luis Moya, the navigator, smashing his helmet into the windscreen of the car. So what I'm saying is that, the rally might look in the bag, the championship might look in the bag for both Hyundai and Neuville. But, it's not done until it's done. This is a game that can really bring tears to people. Of course, I think globally, and I'm sure people will attest, we are all rooting for Neuville. He's been rallying, and he's been giving us good sights and good enjoyment watching him rally for the last since 2014 with Hyundai, and so we are really rooting for him. If there's anybody who deserves to win a championship, it is Thierry Neuville and navigator Martin Widag. But Japan being as tricky as it is. Ott Tanak, let's not forget about Ott Tanak, only has one championship. I've seen Abitabul saying that no team orders to apply. So no team orders to apply means that this is do or die for both of them.
Well, it's very interesting because the reason why I want to touch on the Hyundai team is they had the biggest pool of drivers for the season, 5 of them. Yeah. Dennis Horo, who's announced his retirement. Sepe Kalapi also, who's also called time on career, and Andreas Mikkelsen. Yeah. But the 2 top drivers have been Tanak and Neuville. Yeah. How have you seen them executing all of these events? Yeah. Neuville winning in Monaco. We saw him go to Portugal, pull off that magical thing. Italy turned out to be something else with Ott Tanak winning after Ogier suffered a crazy puncture in the final stage.
I think the team management really takes into consideration everybody's strong points, because it's a rare driver who's good on all surfaces. Some have surfaces that they really enjoy and some don't. So how you arrange who goes to which rally depends on how they've been performing upon that particular surface. So I was a bit disappointed, I guess, with Andreas Mikkelsen. Andreas Mikkelsen very successfully drove VW Golf GTI with the Polo Rally team. I think he came close to winning a WRC championship, but then he dropped into WRC 2. So he's another very good driver that's not really had the chance to prove himself over the years. And I was a bit disappointed that he only got a few rallies. They should have given him a full championship. But like you say, the top 2 drivers are the top guys who've been consistently scoring points for the team. And of course, Ott, I guess there was a bit of maybe a discussion as to who is the number 1 driver, because Ott Tanak seems to have been the number 2 driver, although he's the only one who has a championship. So it's kind of an interesting debate. I guess Neuville is there because he's probably the most senior. Although in age, Tanak is actually 1 year older than Neuville. So it's an interesting dichotomy, and But at the end of the day, team manager has said he's not going to order anybody to slow down. He's not going to order any particular mechanics to tamper with anybody's car. And so it's going to be left to the two crews, get onto the road and try to win this. It's a very uphill task for Tanak, but let's see.
Well, everyone's talking about that, but for Toyota, they were going to give a challenge, and it came from some of the most unexpected places. Sebastian Ogier was to be a part-timer this season.
Yeah.
Then it got to a point, he was catching up with Alvin Evans.
Yeah.
And I think after, I think it was just after Finland.
Yeah.
The conversation was, what's next? They said, till the end of the season, because they saw a ninth was coming for him.
Yeah.
How would you put Toyota into perspective?
Well, Toyota, you know, like you said earlier, technically at home. Toyota to win, first of all, the event and maybe even to win the championship in Japan would be a real feather in the cap for them. But, you know, it's rallying, like I say. It's maybe OJ is in the entry. He may have a chance. Just to sort of, you know, throw a spanner in the Mickey of the championship, that is the rally championship that's going on between Tanak and Neuville. And of course, Toyota would love to win at home. But again, very tricky rally. Anybody under pressure in the conditions of Japan, any slight mistake, they are deep. You're rallying on roads that have edges on the edge and on the side, and one mistake, one tire put off the wrong place, your car is off the road into a ditch where you cannot retrieve it from, meaning retirement. So people have to really be careful. Neuville needs to score at least 5 points to make it perfect. So if I was him, I would be thinking about bringing the car home. The only problem is, can you get a guy who's normally fast to drive slowly? Very difficult. So maybe when they drive slowly is when they make mistakes. So very tricky.
No, but it's interesting that, you know, for him, he says that, you know, some of the mistakes he's made, I mean, at times is when a note, you know, they say they are planning with the navigator.
Martin
Widdag is that the note was a little bit too fast.
Yeah.
From a navigator's perspective, how do you manage such things?
Well, you know, the conditions can change between recce and rally. It's about what, 2 days, and you're talking about a place like Japan that's even snowing. There's even rain. So you may call that corner depending on what you imagine, what your weather crews tell you what the weather is going to be, and then you arrive there and the weather is completely wrong. So these things can happen. You can't foresee the future, and especially on a technical event like this, the people will have problems. You could call the wrong tires depending on based on the information that you got from your weather crew. You know, the weather could change. You know, it's almost like F1 where, you know, you on a wet track, you can't drive on you know, non-wet tires. So you could go on the recce, look at the route, call it you know, a max left, maybe medium camber or something. You come there and it's completely wet or snowy. So the corner, the note can cause a lot of changes on the event.
I think like we saw last year, the falling leaves now create another mess.
Exactly, they're slippery, and so, you know, these guys are separated by, you know, less than a second. So you slide off slightly, go into the grass, take 2 minutes, take even 5 seconds to bring your car back on the tarmac. You are lying second, now you're lying 10th. So anything that can distract the car, anything that can disturb your rhythm, you know, it can be a game changer for the event, and on this event, actually a game changer for the championship.
Well, we are talking about, you know, the main teams, and it's all about Rally Japan. But there is one team that everyone, you know, doesn't talk about. It's M Sport Ford. I think the current FIA president at one point, you know, tried to say that the championship's 2.5 teams because M Sport is not fully factory backed. It's actually the efforts of Malcolm Wilson. Yeah. But Adrian Formore, he drove for them 3 years back.
Yeah.
He's come back. He's in the fold. And how would you rate his season? You know, because not everyone sees Ford as the strongest car, but he's given some of the best moments so far.
Yeah. Formore is a very good driver. I mean, he's got sort of a lot of natural talent, and he's got a very good sort of, I don't know whether to call him mentor, but Malcolm Wilson, you know, famously is a guy who has really brought drivers to their best. I think one perfect example is Ott Tanak, had quite a rocky start to rallying. You know, he crashed a bit. He, you know, made mistakes here and there. And, you know, for a long time, Ford supported him, despite the fact that he was costing them quite a lot. And you can see now the confidence he has. So Wahome is lucky to have started off his real career in Ford, because he has an old hand like Malcolm Wilson, you know, to hold his hand and tell him how to do it. And I think Wahome will be a champion soon. Whether he does it with Ford, I don't know. I know he's got some offers with Toyota. He's got another offer for Hyundai. And so, you know, and that's obviously because they do recognize his quality, you know, and they know that he's a guy who in the future can be a champion. So let's see.
Well, very interesting. Now that you mentioned about Ryan Wahome, he says Toyota giving him half a season. He doesn't want that. Hyundai, the talks are there. So let's wait and see what's going to be next for them. But also, it's been a season where we have seen revelations of youngsters.
Yeah.
Toyota brought in a WRC2 driver, Sami Payari.
Yeah.
He's driven the main car. And then we saw Ford give Martin Sesks 2 opportunities, one with an unhybrid car and one
WRC1 car
with a main rally car.
Yeah.
What are these 2 youngsters?
I think, as I've mentioned before on this panel, it's also a lot about transition. You know, most of the guys, the top guys, are touching on their mid to late 30s. And so the teams know that, you know, in order for continuity to be there, you must start nurturing these young guys. There are many guys in WRC2, there are many guys in JWRC who are really performing. And I think Martin Sesks on his home event even won stage.
Yes.
I'm not so sure there's been a rookie who did that and if there has been, I don't think in the last near future. So yes, these are guys. Payari is Finnish. You know, the Finns, the way Kenyans marathon is our sport, to Finland is rallying. So it's only right and good that the teams start to give these young guys some experience, so that, you know, come 2-3 years from now, you know, we might be watching Martin Sesks as the WRC champion. Yeah.
Well, very interesting that all that is going to come to the fore. And has mentioned that Japan is going to be everything. And you know, let's hope that, for example, like Neuville doesn't get into this situation that he got into in the Rally of Central Europe. And those 2 incidents were in a span of less than a minute.
Yeah. You know, rallying is happening at a very high velocity. You just need to lose your concentration for a second. You know, the guy behind you is less than, you know, 2/10 of a second, 3/10 of a second behind you. If you make one small mistake like that one, he lost at least half a minute. You know, your championship is on the line. So concentration needs to be up, you know, and it's a whole weekend. You know, you start rallying on Friday, you know, so those are 3-4 days that anything can go wrong. Your concentration, your mood, your feel, the car, you know, it's a big team. It's a big item of so many moving parts that have to come together to ensure that these guys do well. And really, we wish Neuville all the best. This should be his year. If there's anybody who deserves it, it's him. But I think Japan is going to be an interesting event to watch. And yeah, let's see.
All right. And remember that Japan are 6 hours ahead. So if you really want to watch what is a morning stage in Japan, you'd have to be up at 1 a.m. 1 a.m. is when you'd have to be up. Yeah. Well, and that's the Sami Payari's car, one of the youngs. One of the upcoming drivers. Well, even as this season comes to a close, I think towards the end of last week, the information came out, and this is going to change how these cars look like. Now, what happened is with a WRC main car is that it's basically an engine, not a huge one, 1600 cc, but on steroids, and then they gave it the hybrid boost.
Yeah.
Next year they've said no more hybrid.
Yeah.
How is this going to change?
I don't think the technical management of the teams is complaining. This system has had its teething problems. A lot of the times the electrics were not working. There were regulations about where you needed to drive the car in economy, in electric mode, like in the service park. Now, for example, if you came to the service park and your EV mode wasn't working, what happens? So there was a lot of things going on like that. The stages.
Yes, because I mean, being a person who's spent proper time at the service park, so it's silent, and so there is always the siren.
Yeah, the idea is conservation. The idea is getting even sound levels down. The idea is to make the service park more healthy, let's say. So the idea was that you drove it in EV mode in the service park. But the system was failing. I think even there are some rally drivers who actually didn't finish events because the systems were not working well. So going back to a pure ICE engine, I think is going to be okay for the teams. They may need to, I don't know what they're going to do to the cars, because then that means they're going to lose some weight.
Yes.
Yeah, meaning maybe they change
about 100 kilos.
Which means they change the regulation, maybe about the top end power, because then if you lose 100 kilos from one of these cars, then it's going to become a rocket, which then becomes something that you don't want to rally. So there's going to be some changes in the regulations, and I'm sure the technical regulations have already been sent to the teams, because this is not something that can be done in the 2 months between the championship. I'm sure they're already working on their cars for next season, already testing, and FIA keeping a close eye to see. But I don't think anybody will cry by seeing the cars change in that fashion.
Well, for some of the drivers, they say, you know, some people think whatever they do is crazy. They are basically, nuts. Basically, if you lose things here and there in the brain for you to drive like this, and there are the drivers who say it is exciting. How much do you see? Because you've been in, in the two-wheel drive car, you've been in a full, in a group and car.
Yeah.
How is that power variation, and how does it?
Oh, of course, it's like day and night. When a two-wheel drive car is 1600 normally aspirated, group and car is 1800 turbocharged, four-wheel drive. It's pulling like something else. So of course everything is happening much faster, and I can just only imagine what these cars are like. These ones must be on another level. Maybe it's almost like playing a video game. Your reflex muscles must be tip top. You are taking corners and taking decisions at such a high rate, and with with a lot to lose if you don't take it at the right corner. And so it's very interesting, very exciting. It's there's always a debate as to what is more exciting, Formula One or WRC. And being a fan of both, I still think that WRC is more exciting, more technical, and it is an amazing sport to watch.
Well, and there is so much that's in store, and even as that comes to a close, it's all about how teams managing their drivers and how they do it towards the end. But there is the support championship this year, Kigo, and it has brought out a lot of conversations. Oliver Solberg topping the WRC2 championship, and we've seen Johan Rosell, Sami Payari all coming through. Just give us, the second tier of that competition.
Yes, there is talk of that championship actually being promoted maybe in the next, maybe 3-4 years to be in the premier class, because obviously WRC1, the entries here can only be factories. The rule is that only factories enter, and so that means you're keeping a lot of people out. The costs are very high. Also, the competition, it's only their class. You can't compete as a privateer against Toyota or even Ford. And so
unless you're Jordan Shederidis,
who is a Ford driver anyway.
He's a Ford driver.
So it's WRC brings it a bit closer to the people, let's say. Hence, then it's become very competitive. You've had guys from all over the place. It's been an event that has been close. It's not you don't have an outright winner. Oliver Solberg, is it unassailable? I'm not so.
He's got 12 points on Russell.
Okay, so not unassailable yet. And he's driven in WRC1, although not very successfully. Maybe he needed some experience, the experience that he gets from WRC2. Andreas Mikkelsen also won the WRC championship, I think, once, after coming from a WRC1 car. So it is an interesting event. The cars are slightly less powered than WRC1 cars, but definitely the cars we actually see here in Kenya are actually WRC2 cars. The Fords and the Polos that are driven by our local guys are actually WRC2 cars. So
and the Skoda that Karan has,
exactly,
which is that
Karan's car is a WRC2 car basically, and so it is an upcoming championship, and very exciting.
Well, just looking at it, and because this is one of the things that the FIA has been talking about, is trying to make it look more for the fan. Yeah. Because WRC2 is, I think somebody just almost made the leak. the Toyota, the main Toyota and the Hyundai is a car that costs probably $1 million in the range of that. But these others cost 300,000 euros or something.
It's still very expensive, but it's more affordable. One could get in a program where he gets a good sponsor to come with him and rally. Rallying is still a very expensive sport, but this brings it a step down. You can imagine if you were to take part in a WRC 2 event championship, it means travel. It means either you're hiring cars in different countries, either you're flying your car to these different countries. So it's a hell of a big cost. And maybe they need to think about how they do it. Maybe the championships can be run within the continents and the points sort of tallied so that you don't get people having to travel all over the place. But it's a growing event, and as everything else, dynamic. You never know what happens in 2-3 years. But definitely more focus needs to be put on the WRC2 because it's more affordable.
And yes, and also because we know also it, you know, there is a people factor around it.
Yeah.
The locals tend to do that. I mean, looking at the season overall, events and moments that may have stood out for you. For example, I think we can start with, you know, what Neuville did in Monte Carlo, where you do the clean sweep. The others.
Neuville clean sweep is actually the only one done this year, and it was the first event of the year. And I think he was trying to serve notice that this is his year. So I think it is good that he wins the championship, and I hope he does. But which will mean that he started on a high and ended out on the high. So it's the clean sweep is not an easy thing to do. Maybe easier early in the season when there's not so much to lose. But now every point counts. Are you gonna, you know, want to win the clean sweep and at the risk of retiring? I don't know, man.
Then there's also the power stage. He's just been called the Sunday man. Because of the number of points he's picking up on Sundays.
I think I don't know whether he'll win many points this power stage, depending on what he scored on Saturday and Sunday morning. I don't know whether he risks it all on the power stage, because if he doesn't finish, point system is neither here nor there. You know, he has to finish, and also depending on what Tanak is doing. You know, it's going to be, he needs to manage the event himself. They need to really be watching what Tanak is doing. In fact, it would be interesting to see the dynamics in the Hyundai rally team as to what information is being given to, you know, Neuville's handler or Neuville's manager vis-a-vis Tanak's manager. Because if Tanak is having a bad time of it, do you tell Neuville, you can slow down now, you know, because you still want the championship, you still want to beat Toyota. So very interesting to see what happens.
What's the best road position for you to be in a rally like Japan? We know in the safari, if you are fast on the road when you're doing gravel, that's the worst point. That's the worst place to be. What about...
You know, the wet tarmac, does it change? I don't think it changes. Wet tarmac is wet tarmac, whether you're number 1, number 5. Where it counts is where there's a lot of cleaning on a gravel road. Gravel road, number 1, you're done. Yeah, you need to be number 3, number 4. You find the track that the cars in front of you have made. But wet tarmac is wet tarmac. I don't know whether there'll be any advantage. Maybe if there's a stage that has a lot of leaves, of course, being fast will be a disadvantage. But, you know, they have tactics. They cut. You know, if you're fast and you find a road that is very clean, or you're cleaning, you cut the corner a little more, because when you cut, you pull out the stones, you pull out the dust, and you leave the corners, especially the inside of the corners, quite dirty. And that dirt is mud. And you come around there at speed, you know, your cars slide off. And it's a tactic they do. It's legal. I mean, it's rallying. So let's see. It will be quite an interesting event to watch.
Well, so you've had it. It's going to be very, very interesting. We're talking about the WRC Forum 8 Rally of Japan. It's a season finale. And this is how it stands. And remember that all of this year, KBC Channel 1, we've been bringing you the rally, the World Rally Championship, the entire series. So it's been coming. Thierry Neuville, 225 points. He's top. Tanak on 200. Alvin Evans is on 185. The best Evans can do if he does a clean sweep is 215 points, finish second. That would be a different case. But remember, Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. East African time, we shall know who the World Rally Champion for 2024 is. Thank you very much. Yes, time for us now to break away. Our sign language interpreter has been Lucy Mwaura. Will be breaking away. And remember, at noon, join us for Kurunzi Mashinani, and also interview program Tamrini. My name is Daniel Wahome. On behalf of those who put this together, I want to say thank you for being with us. Have a good day.
In most urban areas in Kenya, there are informal settlements commonly referred to as slums. These are inhabited by the low-income earners, who in most cases can hardly afford basic commodities. In these areas, there is no proper drainage, disposal of solid waste, and most importantly, human waste. Sewerage network in these areas is not connected, making the resident improvise on ways of dealing with the human waste.
Recently, we did sheet flow diagram mapping, so that we see how sanitation is and different players. And in that sheet flow diagram that was done under CIWIS, which is Citywide Inclusive Sanitation, one of the findings was that safely managed sanitation stands at 59%. And that is basically within the city here, Kisumu City. And Kisumu City has a population, initially it was planned for 100,000 people. But right now, due to urban growth and development, the population has gone up. And when it goes up, it means it is calling for more sanitation facilities to be in place.
In communities where facilities for safe disposal of human waste are inadequate, various disease outbreaks are witnessed. For example, the major diarrhea disease burden originates from infected feces. Poor disposal of human waste bring about illness which are caused by germs and worms in feces. These illnesses can cause many years of sickness and can lead to other health problems such as dehydration, anemia, and malnutrition. Severe sanitation-related illness like cholera can spread rapidly, bringing sudden death to many people. To curb all this poor disposal of human waste, one organization, Fresh Life, has come up with dry toilets installed within the informal settlements in Kenya.
Fresh Life is a social enterprise, which is a founding partner to Synergy Collaborative. Fresh Life was founded in 2011 to solve the sanitation crisis through the power of circular economy. Fresh Life collaborates with municipalities to bring change in the urban informal settlements through the construction of waterless prefabricated toilets. Fresh Life design, fabricate, and install waterless facilities in the urban informal settlements. These are areas where there is no sewer connection.
In Kisumu County, the county government in collaboration with Kisumu Water and Sanitation Company have partnered with Fresh Life in the provision of proper disposal of human waste.
Come 2019, we realized that sanitation was a big problem to us within the city because our main sources of water is Lake Victoria, and because of pollution, we have many low-income areas surrounding the city and going into the lake. We realized that there's a lot of free-flowing untreated waste going into the lake, causing pollution. So what we decided to do is to be a catalyst within that field. So what we did to be a catalyst is invite other players within the sector. And in 2019, we started talking with Fresh Life. When we visited the offices in Nairobi and walked and saw what they were doing, we felt that